Hello, welcome to the Hifi Turtle YouTube channel. My name is Ray, and if you've seen my videos before, you probably are noticing that there's something new in this room. And yes, it is a very large green panel that is to the right of me. This is actually an acoustic panel that I made myself. I've shown my acoustic panels before in my main listening room, and I've made several comments that I made them myself, so I figured, well, let me make some more acoustic panels so I can improve the sound in here, which is my, for lack of a better word, recording studio, I guess, for my videos. But already, I think that if you've heard other videos of mine where I'm in this room, the audio is absolutely day and night. There's not as much echo anymore because I've got this panel, and I actually have another panel that's behind the camera that you can't see that I made already too, but this looks pretty damn good, right? And believe it or not, it's actually really cheap to make and really easy to make as well. So stay tuned, I'm gonna show you how to make a panel just like this one and do it all for less than $50. You'll need some tools for this, like a Sharpie, some tin snips, some self-tapping metal screws, tape measure, spare wood, a drill, some gloves, a respirator, and some noise-canceling headphones if you really desire. I used ATS Acoustics rock wool for this. The reason being is that, one, it was extremely cheap, and the reason why I picked ATS isn't because I'm sponsored or anything like that, but because they're local to me, so I was able to get it without having to pay ridiculous shipping costs. So $6.24 a panel is what we're paying for these rock wool pieces. Then we're going to get some drywall studs from Home Depot. These are $5.27 each. They're about 2 inches thick, and these come out to be $10.54 because you need 2 of them. Then we're just going to go to Joann's Fabrics or whatever fabric store is near you and get some muslin fabric. This is extremely cheap, and you can almost always get it 40% off. Comes out to $3.58. That's basically all you need for the material side. So we're going to measure out our steel stud here. It's going to come out 10 feet, and we're going to make some marks with the Sharpie at the 4-foot and 6-foot marker on the tape measurer. We're going to remove the tape measure, and at the areas where we marked with our Sharpie, we're going to cut the wings, if you will, for this stud with our tin snips. Make sure to be careful here. These are incredibly sharp, of course. Make an adjustment just so that the metal is not going to run into itself. And then I just bend it up. And this is going to create 3/4 of our frame. So we'll have a 4 by 2 by 4 foot section here, and then we'll have to put on another 2-foot section to cap it off later on. So because this is pre-recorded, I already had cut off a 2-foot section from the other beam that we had purchased, and just like Rachel Ray, it's already prepared, and I'm just going to slide it in here. Just make sure it aligns. You can see there's a small gap in the corner here, but that's just because of the way that the cut when the metal was there. I'm going to put a clamp here to hold the metal in place. This is optional. You don't have to do this. All right, now I'm going to get my spare wood. And the spare wood is going to be so that when we're drilling the hole with the self-tapping metal screw, that the second layer of metal doesn't get actually bended instead of the screw going through it. So by putting the metal here, or putting the wood block here, it acts as a reinforcement to the bottom, and the screw will go through more easily and go through in one clean swoop instead of bending the metal. And just drill on through. Then just go ahead and repeat that whole process on all 4 corners. Once that's all done, we can go back and drill in the screw for real with the pre-drilled holes we've made. If you haven't already, make sure to put on your gloves and your respirator because it's time to work with the rock wool. This stuff is pretty gnarly, so you definitely want to protect yourself any way possible when working with it. The rock wool is has a lot of play, so you can just squeeze it into the frame. It's not going to fit perfectly because we have those wings. This is a 2x4 piece of rock wool, and we're just going to stuff it into the frame, pull it in tight and taut, force it into the corners, push it down into the frame, make sure it fits nice and snug. Now, because this is a 2.5-inch frame, it's not going to fit perfectly because each piece of wool is only 2 inches thick. So you can use a shim, or you can use some you can actually use some extra mineral wool if you want to just cut some pieces off and stuff it. The mineral wool will just hold itself in place. You can use a variety of things here, but I chose to use some just little wood blocks. And there you have it, our completed panel from the front. Looks pretty nice, doesn't it? So now we're on to actually wrapping the panel. I chose this green muslin fabric because I have the idea that this is eventually become a green screen kind of thing, but feel free to choose whatever color you want. You can, if you choose a darker color like this, you can use 1 layer. If you use a lighter color like white, you probably want to do 2 layers of the fabric, and unless you really just don't care about looks. I'm going to measure out 58 inches here and then make a cut. Just clean it up, make it nice, try to pull it as taut as possible. And then we're going to bring our panel in and kind of center it and just plop it down. Once again, I'm going to pull the fabric taut and tight again as much as possible. It's not critically important that it's absolutely perfect here, and I'll go over why that is later on. All right, so now I'm just going to start hot gluing the fabric to the metal frame and just go around, hot glue. You can use your fingers and hands if you're brave, or it's not that hot. But if you have a very hot or very powerful glue gun, it may be advantageous to use a small piece of cardboard to act as your fingers in this case. And then just bring it up through the corners, kind of wrapping it like a Christmas gift. And as you can see from this wrapping, my Christmas gifts don't look very pretty. So now we're done with one side, we're just going to flip it to the other, do the exact same thing on the other side, hot glue, push down. Hot glue, push down. And hot glue dries very quickly, of course, so you want to make sure that you're working pretty quickly with it so it doesn't dry. So you can choose a lot of different ways to actually mount these, and my favorite way is actually to just use these command strips, these ultra heavy duty command strips from Costco. They're like $9 for a pack of like 68 of them, so you're only going to need 4 for this project. It's only a few cents per strip. And then I use some Gorilla Glue on the back of the strip just to reinforce it. Also, what the Gorilla Glue does is, because the frame is covered in the fabric, the Gorilla Glue seeps through the fabric and cements the strip to the frame. So now the frame is wrapped, and you can see it's pretty wrinkly. It's not exactly tight. It doesn't look exactly great. It kind of looks like a messed up bed sheet. But here's the magic of muslin. Just spray it with water. It's unshrunk cotton, so you can just spray it with water and it shrinks really well. Use the same spritzer that you humidify your turtle enclosure with. It doesn't matter. And here we go. So you can see that because the fabric is shrinking, that it's kind of pulled out the creases and the imperfections, and it's still drying here. So you can see just how fast this is working. And then later on, look at that. We've got a really nice looking panel. There are still some little creases. You could spray some more water possibly, but it looks really good. And there you have it. That's how I built this acoustic panel behind me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you get a chance to build your own acoustic panels. Remember to be safe when you're handling this stuff. There are a lot of gnarly materials that are used for acoustic treatment. I used the mineral wool and rock wool just because it was cheap, and I wanted to make this a very cheap panel to make. But of course you could go for the Owens Corning rigid fiberglass, which probably has a little bit better properties than the rock wool. You can use even thicker studs to make bass traps or any thickness that you really want. Those are 6-inch thick in the listening room, and these are only 2 inches. You could do a 4-inch, and with the mineral wool, what's really nice is that it's really got a lot of play, so you can squish it down. I think the other frame that's bigger than this one is 3 5/8, and that's probably no problem to fit 2 rock wool bats into. But 2 rigid fiberglass bats, I'm not sure, because the rigid fiberglass really doesn't compress very much. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it that big thumbs up, like and subscribe. Check out the links below to support my channel, and I will see you in the next one.